Well, hey, Electra. I didn't know who was going to be awake. I'm wide awake and have been most nights. And so I decided that I was just going to entertain being wide awake. It's hot and humid uh, here in Atlanta, somewhere in Atlanta. The air is still. And I thought I'd just come on. And even if it meant that it would just be me and whomever is listening. I just thought I'd come on and chat a little bit. Oh my goodness, we have had some exciting days. We have had the hearings, which I have watched. I've watched with a great deal of interest, because I think it's good to educate yourself as best you can to what's going on. Lately, I haven't been as involved with watching television. I've had to lift the vibe, so I've gotten up with music in my head and playing music and dancing and getting up early enough before the heavy heat comes to take a walk and uh, remain as focused as I can possibly be with all the things that are going on in my head. Uh, yeah, so I have watched. Yes, I did watch Shay Moss, and I watched her mother, Lady Ruby. Her grandmother was there. Hey, Sharon. And I'm going to work my way up to that, okay? Because I didn't know if I was going to come on and do a rant. And then I decided that wasn't the best idea because, you know, I I could blow. I could blow. I think there's plenty to blow about. And yesterday was seeing Shay and her mother and her grandmother there. It hit. It affected me. It affects me. It affects me. But anyway, so we've been watching these hearings, and we've had people come forth uh, testifying. I'm really enjoying the way the January 6th committee is handling itself, or commission, excuse me. I'm really enjoying the way they're handling themselves, and I guess I should do a little house cleaning. This is for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed are mine, and they don't necessarily reflect the opinions of anybody who comes to visit with me. Hey, Carter Mancy. Hey, Jaconda. Greetings and salutations. Yeah. Yes, Sharon. That's a great name for her, the Warrior Princess. So, uh, I really, so it's for entertainment purposes only. These are my opinions. There are a few articles I may read, and they are covered by the Fair Use Act, I believe, of 1997, which means it's okay to read from other publications. For the purposes of discussion and deep thought and, just general fuckery, I guess. So I've enjoyed the way they've laid it out. It feels like a mini series. It feels like, there's a lot of thought that has gone into it. This particular commission has understood the power of of vision. So they're laying it out like a series, and it is a series, and it's gripped millions of people. It's intrigued us all. and and it can be it, I think to my, I mean, just the thought, the amount of thought that was put into this whole debacle, this whole, the amount of thought, the amount of coming from frightened little white men. And I'm not politically correct because, like I said, I'm here to not only entertain, I'm here to entertain myself, frightened white men who have, since the existence of this experiment, have been the leaders. They've been the power. And now it looks like that might be slipping away. So, they're eating their own, I guess. I think that, I think back on the Mueller hearing and how excited we all were, et cetera, before. First of all, the investigation was, it was cut off at the knees. And Mueller was old school. He took thousands of pages of documents that nobody read. Maybe the clerks and the advisors and the assistants to the people who sat in the questioning, the Senate committee that was questioning. No, that's not how we do things in the 21st century. It's like we have escalated to meet your Jetson. We're in the 20 Duck Dodgers in the 22 and a half. What was Daffy Duck? He was Duck Dodgers in the 22 and a half century. Whatever. That's not how we communicate. We have this wonderful medium that connects us all, connects us to millions, people we don't even know. You don't know who's watching. A lot of voyeurs out there. You don't know who's listening. I mean, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I think if he thought about that and done it that way, we might, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't have gotten to this point in time. It is absolutely necessary. It is necessary. It's necessary. And this is happening on such a high spiritual plane that unless you think you can ignore it, then, you're only going to traumatize yourself. This has so much more to do spiritually than what we can see physically or hear physically or consciously think. This is really, if there's a such thing as a battle between good and evil, well, this is it. Here we are. I'm amazed. I'm just amazed. Yesterday was a great deal of importance to me because we had the COO Sterling, or Sperling, I think was his name, and Attorney General of Georgia, Raffensperger, and of course we had Shay Moss and Lady Ruby and the matriarch of the family, the grandmother, the backbone, in the hearing. Now, throughout this thing, we've heard about the courage that Pence showed. Being that close to death. When, if you listen carefully, you understood that all of the advisors and all the people, including Judge Ludwig, who put people to sleep in between in between sentences. I'm not knocking him, Jaconda. I am not knocking him at all. All I said was, had he had the foresight to do it the way it is currently, the way the Jan 6 Commission was doing it, it wouldn't have felt like, it wouldn't have felt so clunky. It wouldn't have felt rocky, and it wouldn't have given any kind of fodder to people who were pointing fingers and calling him a doddering. No. That's the documents. He actually was brilliant with those documents. He managed to get convictions that hit and, he got convictions that hit and stuck. So I'm not knocking him. You don't, at all. I'm merely making a comparison. So the first thing that when I was listening, I always try to look at sometimes I have the sound down, and I want to look at people's body language. I want to see what their body, what their eyes, what that's saying to me, as opposed to the actual words coming out of their mouth. And when I do listen, I'm more interested in what isn't said, and especially when you have attorneys speaking, and many of whom become politicians. And the first question, I think Adam Schiff, I love Adam Schiff, I really do, asked Raffensperger was if President Joe Biden was a legitimate president. I forget how he phrased it, but that was the gist of the question. Would you say that, or concede, or whatever, that Joe Biden is the duly elected president of the United States? And Raffensperger choked. And he didn't say yes. He choked, he caught himself, and then he went on to talk about what the numbers showed in the Georgia election. Because the one thing we are learning from this right wing, whatever you want to call them, Republican Party, I heard something very interesting from a gangster type politician from a series I'm watching. I'll actually throw that in. Is that they stick together in all their fuckery and all their dirt. They stick together. Like glue. I almost felt as if some of the people who had come to the hearing to testify were relieved they could actually just talk openly. I'm still looking at Stepien, the campaign manager, who is now in Wyoming, campaigning for helping Liz Cheney's opposition. He referred to Team Normal versus, I guess, Team Abnormal, but anybody with a scintilla of a mind knows that there was nothing normal about what happened these last 5 going on 6 years. There was nothing normal about it. We found ourselves, the one thing that I guess we were able to see firsthand just how dirty politics is and how dirty politicians are. We're perhaps we've had rose-colored glasses. Perhaps we prefer not to know, uh, or we were just happy with what we did know, what we thought we knew. Find out, and all you know, and you really don't know jack. And back to the person that they are calling a hero, because his attorney appeared the day before. I believe his last name is Cooper, his advisor to Pence, and they called in Judge Luddick, who's part of the Federalist Society, which rules the judicial system, the supreme judicial system in this country, and about the success of how many of his clerks have either gone on, I guess, to be judges or have clerked for conservative judges. He's got a record. Anyway, what wasn't said, and what we all know, is that Pence was looking for a way. He was searching legally. He was searching. I'm sure he was consulting his God, searching for a way that he could do what the boss wanted him to do, what the people who were surrounding the boss telling him what he could do. He was searching for a way to make that shit happen. He exhausted himself talking to people, and I guess he and Mother prayed. Because you have to think, when he takes to the podium with that well-groomed hair, and I think he puts a little mascara some on his eyes or something, that evangelical holier than thou stance that he takes when he gets in front of the podium. I guess he wants to channel Joel Osteen or somebody. We're supposed to think that he is this godly, reverent man. And maybe deep down inside he is. I can't tell. Anyway, he was looking for ways to make this thing happen. So he did honor, after he ran out of options, he did honor his duty, his ceremonial duty as the vice president of these United States, to certify the votes. And in the midst of all of this, of course, we know what happened. And I remember when I was passing by the set, and I wasn't sure what was going on. It didn't even strike me that this insurrection was going on. I had my head in the clouds. I was listening to music, so I didn't even, it didn't register right away. And it wasn't too much later in the day that I realized what had actually happened, because it kept being recycled over and over and over again. Okay, so then these honorable men from Georgia go, because once again, Georgia is in the limelight, once again. God bless Senator Warnock, and I so send light and prayer his way for him to stay in office. I'm taking little sidelines. That's a whole nother thing. Anyway, so these men go, and one thing that Sterling, the COO, said that really rankled me. And he was talking about how furious he was about what was going on, and what was being asked of them, what the former person was asking them to do, and the telephone call and all of that. And then he said that they were looking at Fulton County, which is heavily populated with Black Democrats. If not all, heavily populated. And he said that, we always have trouble with Fulton County. And that made my fangs start to grow. I started to feel like Dracula's daughter. Because what I know about my people is we may not show up at every election, but when we show up, shit changes. Yes, he did. He asked Dan Quayle for advice. And, if anybody is old enough to remember Dan Quayle, we understand that we wondered sometimes if all the lights were on, Anyway. Because when this election came and the votes were counted, I don't know how many times they were counted, how many times they were audited. I don't know, whenever this man said, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. Raffensperger, our Attorney General, Brian Kemp, the governor, they did as they were told. Now, this is where I thank Mother Stacey Abrams, because this state was once again thrust in the limelight for the heinous voting rights atrocities that have occurred here and still are occurring. And she had her foot on their necks because, see, I believe, this is my opinion only, it is for entertainment purposes only, I believe they got that phone call because if you listen to the former guy, he said, I shouldn't have helped him win, talking about Kemp, shouldn't have endorsed them, shouldn't have. So he called because he figured he was owed a favor. They'd done it before. He was owed a favor. And when they didn't cooperate, he does what he does. He turns on you with a fierceness. And it's about your total destruction. It's not just you acquiescing, kissing his ass. It's about total destruction. So that really pissed me off. And then we go to Shay and her mother and her grandmother. Now, this was December 10th. What were we thinking about around December 10th? I think I was thinking about Christmas holidays, thinking about where I might spend them if I were going to go out and be around people, or if I was going to stay in and just sort of dream my dreams and sing my songs and kick it. And I imagine Shay and Lady Ruby and her, it's getting around Christmas time, Christmas decorations could have been up. They're working. Lady Ruby had she has her business. She's probably having a Christmas sale or something, Christmas is coming. And it's the first Christmas where we can actually feel like it's Christmas. And I think I'll do something I really love doing, which is being just help just counting the votes. That was the responsibility, the honor that, and the pleasure I derived from doing it. And, in the meantime, I can pick up some extra cash or something. So her mother came to help her. Now, this is when they showed us the videos of that, hey, Doreen, that fat, vile little man, Giuliani, that miserable, wretched creature, takes a snippet of the security tape, takes a snippet as he's going around, because, see, this is well planned. This is a well-oiled machine. I'm waiting for Lindsey Graham's name to bubble up, because he was making calls also. And he goes sitting back in a hotel room somewhere, and not even a real nice one. And he goes in and talks about these women dealing heroin and just like they shit underneath his shoe. These hardworking Black women just wanting to get ready for Christmas and calling out their name. And then the person that was called president spoke from that fetid hole, that garbage can underneath his nose, calling them hustlers, election riggers or whatever. Like the fate of the nation was in the hands of two unassuming, hardworking Black women. You see, they talked about them, which means they talked about me like I was fucking insignificant. That I'm shit on your shoe, that if I saw you in the street and you needed water, I'd spit on you. They thought of me as someone they could just throw away. What the fuck? Who's gonna miss them? Who gives a shit? And then Shay begins to tell, not even aware of what's going on. She's just getting ready to leave. She and her mom, they thought they were leaving early. They had secured the votes. Those suitcases he was talking about, I do believe, were, I don't know if there was a change of clothing or something. It had nothing to do with the votes. However, it letting that vile ghoul interpret it and use it as proof of voter fraud was totally decided by these two Black women. And who the fuck cares about them? So these motherfuckers came to her grandmother's house, burst in, talking about they making a citizen's arrest. I haven't heard about a motherfucking citizen's arrest since Barney Fife ran down the street hollering citizen's arrest to fuck with Goma or somebody. They gonna go to her grandmother's house to look for any proof, to look for thumb drives, or to look for some boats and a suit to look for something. They felt like it was all right for them to go in this woman's house. And she's screaming on the phone to her granddaughter. There's just the three of them outside of Shay's children. Terrified, they're coming in my house. And she's at work where she's supposed to be. And I'm sure is terrified and feeling totally helpless because I can't be that helpless. Close the door and lock it. Don't open it for anyone. And she's not aware that on her Facebook page, on her social medias, she's being attacked. Someone even said, you know, too bad it's something like it's too bad it's 2022 and not 1922 or something. And I'm wondering, what's the fucking difference? It hadn't made any difference to your ass what century or what year. What makes 2022 any different than it was in 1922 or 19? What fucking... And she worrying about her family. I can just feel her shaking and then looking at this stuff that's being said about her coming out the mouth of the president of the United States and out of his minion. Reading these things on her social media. And all she was that she... And I said all of that to say, we want to call... I was mad when Benny Thompson called Pence a hero. He's not a fucking hero. This, at this moment, is CYA Save Y'all Own Asses time. We are happy to come and testify. We've been wanting to talk, but he didn't show up and had the nerve to go on a Fox stage and talk about how much Joe Biden lies. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something, son. I think someone quoted you as saying that you couldn't wait to get to heaven to tell the framers of the Constitution how brilliant they were. I want to tell you something, son. You up to that pasted hairline, that perfect hairdo, nigga. You up to your hairline in the swamp of lies and deception. And you would dare get in front of somebody and call them a liar. You might get a chance to get a little visitation in heaven. I don't think your ass is staying. See, you want to bounce between being a godly man to being who you really are. And I have to ask, what God are you serving? Hey, Edwina, what God? We've been praying for you, Edwina. I do hope things are better for your family in your grief. We've been lifting you up since you asked. Yeah. So what God are you serving? Raffensperger and Sterling, you know, he came out and made a passionate speech. He said, show some leadership. Stop this thing. But how can you tell a sadist? How can you tell a sadist, somebody who has totally allowed the darkness to take root, so he's rotting from the inside out? How can you expect him to give a shit? These people showing me they love me. They worship me. They adore me. They're putting their lives on the line for me. If he ain't willing to do it, maybe he ought to die. You see, how can you give your passionate speech and think it's going to fall on fertile soil. This man who has hypnotized people so that they come out, they were willing to die for him and take some people with them. They are driven, they are low vibrating, knuckle dragging cretins. He speaks to their anger and their frustration with themselves. The ones who ain't felt like shit and nobody around them has ever made them feel like shit. So to them, they ain't shit. But he made them feel supreme. I got to thinking about Raffensperger and Sperling. They could go home with security. Shay don't even want to go to the grocery store. Her mother's reputation has been sullied. And there in the back was the grandmother that we know has been on her knees praying for her babies. They don't have security. And those white men are heroes. Fuck you. You're not a hero. You're fucking cowards. The heroes were those three women. Shay talked about how she didn't even want to go to the market with her mother just in case she called out a name. Her mother said she doesn't feel safe anywhere. Oh, but we send the 91st Psalms to her in full force, where we are told, thou shalt not be afraid. Of the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. You shall, because I set my angels round about you, lest you dash your foot against the stone. So now I'm going to get a sweet segue into Andrew Gillum. Hold on for one moment. Andrew Gillum. The grandmother, Electra Storm, was sitting behind Shay. Her mother, Lady Ruby's testimony was videotaped. The grandmother was sitting behind her only grandchild, her baby. She was the woman that the commission came down and hugged and honored. She's a little unassuming woman, but I bet there's some power, baby, in those prayers. There's power in those tears. And it was Andrew Gillum's grandmother that he made so many references to. I think it was the grandma, baby. Lady Ruby was not. The grandmother was a short little lady with the little red hair. Her mother had beautiful black tresses. Her mother was sharp. Lady Ruby was sharp. She might have been behind her, but the little short woman with the kind of reddish color hair that she probably just brushed down and put on her best suit. I'm not even going to go back and forth on it, because if she wasn't sitting behind us, she was shows in spirit she was. I do not believe that she would let her only daughter and her granddaughter go anywhere by themselves. They represented the Holy Trinity. At any rate, Andrew Gillum. Oh, he was our up and coming star. He made a lot of references to wise sayings his grandmother would give him. He's got to be thinking about it now. He's the former mayor of Tallahassee. I'm going to read a little bit. Can you hear me? I want to read a little bit from an NBC news report. Let me see if I can share the screen, because it was the best. Let's see. All right. Yeah. I'm going to share the screen with this article, again, covered by the Fair Use Act in what happened? 1997. I didn't mean for this shit to pop up. I'm really just trying to read the story. Shoot. Oh, give me, I don't know. See, I need to explore Miss StreamYard and know about all her beautiful features. But anyway, the article says Andrew Gillum, the once rising Florida Democratic star who narrowly lost the 2018 governor's race to Ron DeSantis, was hit with a 21-count federal indictment Wednesday for wire fraud, related conspiracy charges, and making false statements. Gillum, the former Tallahassee mayor, was charged along with his mentor, Sharon Letman Hicks, for fraudulently fundraising from, quote, end quote, various entities between 2016 to 2019, according to a Department of Justice press release. The Justice Department said the two allegedly diverted some of the money to a company controlled by Letman Hicks, who fraudulently disguised the funds as payroll payments to Gillum. Now, that's just the first paragraph. I'm going to stop right there. Where have we heard this story before? Huh? Have we not been hearing about the various tricks that are being employed to divert? Isn't there an investigation into the diversion of campaign funds? So we've heard this story before. Let's continue. And like, share, subscribe, thumbs up. Stay if you can, because if I had to talk to myself, I'll be doing that. All right, next paragraph. In a written statement, Gillum and his lawyers proclaimed his innocence. Letman Hicks, a candidate for a state house seat, has not returned texts or calls from NBC requesting comment. Quote, I have spent the last 20 years of my life in public service and continue to fight for the people, Gillum said. Every campaign I've run has been done with integrity. Make no mistake that this case is not legal. It is political. Throughout my career, I have always stood up for the people of Florida and have spoken truth to power. There's been a target on my back ever since I was the mayor of Tallahassee. They found nothing then, and I have full confidence that my legal team will prove my innocence now. The indictment marks a new low for Gillum, a married father of 3 who withdrew from public life as a political leader and a paid CNN commentator after a March 2020 sex scandal involving a suspected male overdose victim in a South Beach hotel. At the time, Gillum said he was abusing alcohol, and there's a link to that, so I guess there's a statement, as he coped with his loss to DeSantis. But campaign finance records and a leaked criminal subpoena in 2019 showed that Gillum also faced pressure of an he faced the pressure of an FBI investigation. 2 sources with whom Gillum spoke Tuesday told NBC News that he began phoning friends frantically about the criminal case when he was informed that his indictment was imminent. Neither would speak on the record because they weren't authorized to speak on his behalf. They said Gillum rendered himself to prosecutors at 10 a.m. and that his indictment could be unsealed at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. He makes his first appearance at 2 p.m. according to the DOJ. This source says he's down, he's sad, he feels beat up. Both Letman, what is her name? Hicks and Andrew face 19 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud, each of which carries a maximum 20-year sentence. Gillum faces 2 additional charges of lying to investigators, each charge of which carries a maximum 5-year sentence. According to the indictment, the FBI began to sniff out the alleged scheme of Gillum and Letman Hicks in 2016 when he was mayor, and undercover agents investigating corruption in the city were steered to him. The 2 allegedly used his position as mayor, as a progressive activist, and then as a top candidate for governor to skim money from a variety of individual donors and nonprofits, fraudulently pretending to perform voter outreach or to fight for local government rights while pocketing the cash, even after his campaign for governor ended in 2018. Okay. Where have we heard that before? Huh? Sounds like the same old song to me, just with a different face. Same old shit. The difference been, now see, I'm going to do a little side note here. I enjoyed Andrew Gillum. I was really proud of him. I was pleased. Now, I didn't care about what he was doing sexually because there was none of my damn business. I don't spend time trying to get in other people's beds, unless, of course, I'm invited or I invite them to mine. I don't get involved in that because I think that these days, it has become, well, it maybe not just in these days, but knowing what someone does in their bedroom can cause a whole bunch of judgment and finger pointing and bullshit. So people use what we do in bed as a culture to beat us over our head with. Okay, so anywho, so we have him being investigated because he was considered, I don't know if he had decided to run for governor or he was considering it at any rate. See, this is what happens in politics, see. People that know that you can give them a run for their money, because let's remember DeSantis did not win by a landslide. It was a very, very, very tight margin. Now, I remember Rick Scott getting on Twitter when I was allowed to actually be on Twitch. Child, they banned my ass for life. That's another story. At least that's what they're telling me. I can read, but I can't comment. I can't do nothing. That's a whole other story. Anyway, he got into a beef with Rick Scott. Skeletor is what I call him. That man is scary. I don't know if he has alopecia or what the fuck is going on with him, but he looks like a lizard or something. Like if you touch him, he's cold and slimy. Probably because he is cold and slimy. He and Andrew Gillum got into a kind of beef on Twitter, and Andrew was getting the best of him. He was coming back at him strong, and it was real strong. His responses were on point, which frustrated Scott. How dare you, Jigga with the N? How dare you? How dare you get up here and strip me naked, and where millions can read what you're doing and hear what you're doing, and it's going around the world, and millions of people are retweeting because they like what you say. You know, how dare you? We got to do something about you. So it was shortly after that we had the sex scandal in the freaking hotel or motel. Didn't look like a nice room. Looked like a cheap sleep. Looked like Motel 6. And so when we next saw Andrew, he was sprawled out naked. Drugs, pills thrown everywhere. Somebody was dying of an overdose. We never did find out. I might owe you an apology lecture anyway. I think that might have been Lady Ruby. I just didn't recognize it because her testimony was recorded. That was all. I saw red, I guess. So that's all I could. But anyway, Anyway, they had to get rid of him. Next time we see Andrew, he's sprawled out on the floor. Bunch of pills everywhere. He's butt-ass naked. Somebody claiming to have. I wonder what happened to the man that was allegedly overdosing. What happened to him? We're not hearing anything from him. Turns out that he was an operative. He was part of the whole thing. Because I do believe, if memory serves, that edgeless, coonish Candace had taken the story to the Guardian. I do believe, if memory serves correctly, that's how I'll bust it. You know how she loved to come in and hate on her own. I guess she got her card to be an honorary white woman. So, anyway, that was the first scandal. Now, according to one of the media personalities, Funky Diney, aka Quentin, I forget Quentin's last name, who attended Florida. I think it was FAMU. He attended, or he attended Florida State, one of them. Matt Gaetz was a classmate. He said that Andrew's swirling and twirling was not a secret, that it was known. But that when this happened to Andrew, Matt Gaetz reached out to him to poke fun about it. Gaetz need to be worrying about his own ass right about now, I would think. Your shit hasn't gone anywhere. You might have been able to put it off, but if I were you, I wouldn't be poking too much fun at anybody. And then I had to think about his wife and his children. I'm thinking, oh my God, he's got babies. He's got a wife. This is all over the news. And he went underground. No charting, it was reported, I think, that he didn't have anything like that in him. He had, that he had drunk too much or whatever. Anyway. Where did we hear it before, Electra? This is when Andrew first threw his hat in the ring to be, and we just knew that he was going to be governor of Florida, running against DeSantis. When I'm talking about where do we hear this story before, it's playing out right in front of us, boo. Ain't nothing Andrew has done in this story that hasn't been done and isn't being done as laid out by the Jan 6 Commission, as has been being told to us since that demon walked in, walked into the White House. This is what I mean when I compare the stories. It's the same story, baby. Thank you, Jaconda. I know you, my girl. You gonna hang in there with me. So let us continue to read. So now we know that there's Lady Ruby in her pretty white blouse and her sharp glasses. I'm looking at the tube too. So we find out he's thrown his hat in the ring. He's doing very well. He's a popular mayor of Tallahassee. And under some agents looking for some dirt. See, that's what they call opposition research. See, in politics, they ain't talking about what you do good. It's all about what the fuck you doing wrong and bad and heinous and perverted and how we can use it to hurt you. So this is not a game. Politics, you can't be weak going because this is hardball. This is like being in the pit, fighting for your very life to get out alive. So we continue. Now he said that he resigned, he went underground, and then he and his wife went on a tour. They started speaking. They did a few interviews where he was trying to deflect. More on that later. Gillum's decision to resign from his job at the liberal group People for the American Way in early 2017 was particularly stressful for him, the indictment said, because he could not absorb the loss of the $122,500 annual salary. According to the indictment, he and Letman Hicks then arranged for more money to flow through her communications business, P&P Communications, which paid him as an employee or as a contractor. Gillum had been under federal investigation for years, starting with his time as Tallahassee mayor, when he accepted freebies from lobbyists and special interests, including a free New York Harbor boat ride and tickets in New York to the musical Hamilton, which were supplied by an undercover FBI agent posing as a corrupt developer with a company called Southern Pines. Gillum was not charged in that scheme, but he agreed to pay a $5,000 state ethics fine for improperly accepting gifts. Okay. We've heard about that. Agent Orange, prior to him even getting into the seat, was doing all this shit. And that's what lobbyists do. That's their gig. Lobbyists standing in the hallway. Can you imagine going in with all these great ideas of what you want to do for your people? That you go there because you understand your assignment And then somebody comes with a briefcase with cash money, millions, and say, yeah, we can wire the balance to an offshore account if you do this for us. Jack Abramoff, who was a huge lobbyist, went to prison. He did his time for doing some skeezy shit as a lobbyist. But he said the lobbyists write the laws. And once that exchange is made, then you work for me. You're the one that's responsible for getting through what I wrote for you to get through. If you want to continue to get this money. Yep, and Agent Orange is still out here. Yeah, he's. I'm gonna bring it all together. Reading on. Okay, so we found out that Andrew and his person have been under investigation since what, 2018 was it? Or 2016 when he was mayor and moving up the ranks, mayor of Tallahassee, moving up through the ranks. Shining star, no matter who you are, shining bright you see where you can truly be. Okay. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Okay. He's a shining star. All the Democrats and the federal government, they're getting jiggy with it. Yeah. So now he got some tickets to see a Broadway show and to take a trip around the New York Harbor on the boat. Okay. Okay. Bad boy, Andrew. Reading on. At one point, one of the undercover FBI agents offered to contribute money to Gillum surreptitiously on the condition that Southern Pines receive favorable consideration in City Hall. That's what the indictment said. Gillum, unaware that he and an unnamed associate were talking to an undercover agent, later lied in June 2017 to the FBI by saying he cut off contact with, quote, in quote, Southern Pines, according to the indictment. The FBI investigation and the revelations of his hobnobbing with lobbyists helped doom his campaign against DeSantis, who repeatedly described Gillum as, quote, corrupt, end quote, and defeated the Democrat by less than a half percentage point. So you see, it wasn't no landslide. It wasn't easy for DeSantis. He saw that shit slipping away. Slip sliding away. Slip sliding away. The campaign made Gillum a dynamic speaker and the Democratic Party's first Black gubernatorial nominee in Florida into a political celebrity and sought-after speaker. After his loss, he became a CNN commentator, a Harvard University guest lecturer, a frequent guest on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO, and converted his political committee into a voter registration effort in 2019, pledging to sign up and re-engage, quote, end quote, 1 million voters to help Democrats turn Florida blue. He's dangerous, y'all. But by the end of the year, Gillum was paying more money for legal work to top Democratic lawyer Mark Elias. I've heard about Elias, who downplayed the federal subpoena asking Gillum for numerous records in 2019. Quote, in my experience, this is the kind of inquiry campaigns often receive once an election is over, Elias told the Tallahassee Democrat at the time. That's a paper. I'm confident that Forward Florida and Mayor Gillum have complied with the law, and the facts will bear that out, end quote. On Wednesday, Elias and his co-counsel for Gillum top criminal defense attorney David Oscar Marcus issued a joint statement pledging to clear Gillum's name. Quote, "The government got it wrong today. The evidence in this case is clear and will show that Mr. Gillum is innocent of all charges. We look forward to putting the case to rest and giving Andrew and his family peace of mind once and for all," the lawyers said. All right, let's just go back to the sex scandal. Yep. Well, lobbyists, I guess you kind of, lobbyists, they can be both things at one time. Crooks and legal. I mean, that's what many politicians become. They get paid a fat salary to go do some work for somebody. You've been up in the halls of Congress. You've been up there. You know how things work. Work for us. And they have deep pockets, baby. Deep pockets. So, okay. So he and his wife went out, and I remember them being interviewed. I forget who the interviewer was. It was perhaps Gayle King, because she always gets the juicy interviews, And he was deflecting. He tried to poo-poo the same gender loving, the homosexual stuff. Tried to poo-poo that because, I'm a married man. I have children. I have 3 children. My wife is here with me. Nah. But hey, what he might have done at that time is poured his own dirt. Come out slinging. Hell, you got pictures, you got stories, you got all this shit you think you got on me. Well, I'm going to come out and with my wife with me, and we're going to tell the whole fucking thing. He didn't do that. No, they haven't put him in jail yet because it's a process. This is just the indictment. Okay? So I did pull some cards. I ain't gonna lie, because I'm nosy like that. And I'm gonna read you my version of the story that it told me. A lot of what I see is I look at all the images in the cards, everything in the cards, and I had to have a great teacher and had a great instructor, Johnny from Thoreau's Apprentice. He's wonderful. Johnny is truly a prophet. His stuff goes beyond. It's a combo of being messages being downloaded and intuition, the intuitive thing, which is what I see, because I can only tell the story based on what I got. I don't know what nobody else is doing tonight, but I imagine it'll be a hot topic. It ain't as hot as the Jan 6 committee, because tomorrow we're going to see how the Department of Justice was seated. You see, this whole justice system is fraught with supremacists, fraught with white men who think they're smarter than anybody else, and they can't stand it when an Andrew Gillum comes along or Barack Obama comes along. They can't stand it when we're able to outdo Harvard debate teams from Morehouse or any of the HBCUs. Because what I know about my people is everything we decide to focus on, the bar gets raised. You see, because we have to not only stay true to ourselves, we study your stuff. We study the laws that you wrote. We didn't have anything to do with the writing of the Constitution. We didn't have anything to do with the framing of laws, especially since there's so many of them that have built-in racist bullshit on the books. Tennessee won't take the word slavery out of their state constitution. There was a time when black kids and white couldn't even read from the same books because, once we touch something, somehow it becomes filthy. But yet, we can nurse your fucked up babies, deprive my baby of food to feed your baby. I can go behind your cruel ass, evil ass wife, cleaning up behind her and your ass. I have to endure your assaults because if I don't do what you say do, if I don't give it up, you go and you hurt my man, and we gonna stand as we are the backbone to our men, whether they appreciate it or not, whether they walk in defiance, whether they recognize it or not. There's a saying that says, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. I would say hell hath no fury like a black woman scorned. But anyway, I digress. So you see, when an Andrew Gillum comes along, flawed, like we all are, all of them are flawed. I don't know why we look for perfection in people that we place in high station. We had Agent Orange said he could grab you by your pussy. He could do that because he was a celebrity and is outraged. As all the Republicans, Lindsey Graham and Palmer and everybody was outraged. Lindsey Graham, I think he's a nut. And all they had to do was go down to Mar-a-Lago and come back acting like Stepford wives. Because you see, he plays dirty. He's got dirt on all of them. And instead of them just coming on out, like Andrew, you should talk to me. You should pour your own dirt. Put all that shit, put it all out there. You see, because that takes the wind out of the sails. That takes the bravado, that takes the juice out of it. But no, you didn't do that. So I'm going to tell you about the story that the cards told me as I was thinking of him. And I'll say off the top, he got a lot of major arcana. But you know what? The first one was a tower. Looking pretty black. Shit's on fire. People falling down to the cold, stony rocks below. But Johnny says there are yards, those little yellow things. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, that is the spirit. That is the presence. But yeah, his shit's on fire. And I don't doubt that he's depressed and feel like he's being beat up. And what the fuck, I think about his babies, his children, and his wife who has been there, who has, to me, and this is just me, entertainment purposes only, I don't know any woman that doesn't know her man. And she knew who she was marrying. Sometimes it makes us wonder why we marry certain ones, because I know that all the white chicks I knew that went to college went with one thing in mind. They were all going to become teachers, but they had their sights set on somebody who had a promising career, a doctor, or anyone in the medical professions, a dentist, a surgeon, an engineer, an architect, a lawyer, somebody that looked like, and they didn't care if they looked like a goat's ass with some eyes in it. As long as they were going, as long as they had a lifestyle that would over time or together would bring a wealth and a certain amount of prosperity, and I can be in the women's social clubs, and I can be about my civic duty, my social duties with my girlfriends while we're having cocktails and lunch, while he's off bringing home the bacon. Now, the only time a brother got play is if they knew that this brother was on their way to the NBA, the NFL, the MLB. Those were the ones that the white girls go after when it looked like they could see, they saw those, they were calculating, baby. They start racking up dollar sign. Yeah. And all I got to be is wife. I can get my titties done, teeth done, hair done, everything done. I can come out looking like a blow-up doll, because that's what I'm, eye candy. All right, the second card. Now, I'm telling his story as it is told to me. I saw the Hermit. You know, there's a story about, I don't know if it's a mythology or if it's in a book I read, the story of a man who was walking around with a lantern. If anybody knows about this, in broad daylight looking for an honest man. The second card is the Hermit. Now, in this story, this gentleman is going around and round and round and round in broad daylight with his lantern going, looking for an honest man. What he failed to take into consideration that light was shining on his ass too, see? That lantern was shining a light on him. And in the little booklet that comes with the Rider Waite, it says, the Hermit, prudence, also and especially treason, dissimulation, corruption, roguery. Same person, different face. So I'm going to come back to this card because I have some thoughts, see, because I'm looking at this more like this person, since, you know, the London Bridge is falling down, London Bridge sits on fire, my life is destroyed, etc. This says to me that they have to look at themselves. Is it Diogenes? Thank you. Thank you, Jaconda. Jaconda is my ride or die, y'all. I love her. She sends me emails. I love the communication. Thank you so much, Jaconda. So anyway, so the light is reflecting on him, you see. How would you know an honest man if you saw him? Don't we have to be that which we are seeking? So he's in a, it looked like he's in a spot of trouble. They're accusing him of all that shit, not the treason part. That's what's coming up for the other guy. But right now, yeah, you've been a rogue, you know, you've been accused of taking some tickets to go see a New York play, and you diverting funds, and you and your friend, your mentor, the person whispering in your ear telling you what to do, and who had now thrown her hat into the ring to become a state representative. See, y'all had to be, they had to get rid of y'all, because they know together, if you ever dipped your toe back into the pool, Andrew, you along with your mentor, Miss Letman Hicks, y'all would be a dynamic duo, baby. Change would certainly come. So he's reflecting and he's looking back on himself, because I have the 9 of Cups. He's thinking about, I know Marianne is in Revealing Line is referred to it as a smug merchant, and this person does look all, full of himself. He looks real happy. He's got all his cups. All his cups are full. He's fat and happy. He's thinking about when he had everything, when it felt like everything he desired was he was right at that. He was there. Everything, all of my dreams, to both be doing something good for the people, and something for myself too. I'm breaking myself off a piece. Life is good. He continues to reflect with the 6 of Cups, thinking back on when it was all good. Yeah, not only was I was living a dream, and now I'm having to think. I'm reflecting on how good it felt. You see, because all the cups got flowers in them, and there's a little mate there, and there's romance, there's abundance, it's just a good feeling. He's having to look at all of that right now. I'm going somewhere with this. Next comes a Hanged Man. Now, I know Johnny has said, and I agree, that this card represents, who was it? Jaconda, I know you know. Jaconda, you pulled a card? Okay. Second, 3 of Swords, third, 5 of Swords, fourth, 2 of Wands. I'm going to catch up with you, okay? 5th, 4 of Swords, 6th, Queen of Wands, and 7, 8 of Wands. Now, he's got the Hangman, because he's getting ready to get a whole new perspective on shit. Because all of this, he feels like the world is crumbling down around his ears. And this is going to, if he thinks he's going to feel sorry for himself for a minute. You're going to feel down. But see, he's having to take a look, get a whole new different perspective on things. You know how we might go to the same restaurant, eat the same thing all the time, but we're going to go to the same restaurant and we're going to eat something different tonight. He's feeling stuck, but it's a good thing for him to be stuck. See, it's a good thing for you to be stuck, because I think at some point you got a little too full of yourself. Took your eye off the ball, son. You forgot who you were dealing with. But there's somebody coming into your life. There's a man, the presence of a man, a respected man. And I'm not talking about your lawyers, because you got some good ones. Mark Elias is well known. You got some good attorneys. I'm talking about this time, see, we're dealing on the soul level. We are dealing with your very soul. See, because that's what this is. This is about more. This is what it's about more than anything else you're focusing on in your physical life. What you can see while you lick your wounds. Because there's someone coming to your aid. Someone that is going to, they'll be nurturing, you know. But they're going to be bringing you some hard truths. You're going to have to face, some things. This is somebody you respect. I wonder if it's somebody that you perhaps haven't spoken to for a while, or because you respect this person. As a matter of fact, this person has a big piece of your heart, and I'm not talking about in any kind of like what we might consider to be vile or whatever. Because the next card I pull with the Lovers. See, sometimes we have to go inside. We need somebody that to come into our lives that is not there to judge as much as they are to listen, to help you navigate when you're going through some shit, when you're going through a tough time. You need somebody like that. And this is a person who's going to help you deal with the very things going on in your soul. This is when you will realize unconditional love. Because you have some trials you have to overcome. And the biggest trial you have to overcome is your own black ass. You see, because you've been hiding and you haven't liked the person. You haven't liked having to hide. But you also haven't liked the person. You sent a representative. I think you've had some trouble. You've had some struggles with being at the very beginning. Bisexual, ain't nothing wrong with it, baby. I raised my hand. Took me a minute to settle into the knowledge, but I'm not ashamed of that. You know, it is part of my human experience, my living experience. It's helped me become more empathetic, as if I wasn't empathetic enough. I have to be very careful with this energy of mine. Okay. Now I did get the 7 of Wands. He's fighting to stay on. He's fighting to stay on top. He's fighting because this person's gonna help him get the higher, but it's gonna be a fight, baby. Ain't nothing coming easy to you this time. You're gonna have to be true to yourself. You're gonna have to be courageous enough to stand in your truth. You're gonna have to pull your own dirt before somebody else gets a chance to, so they can take your truth and use it on you like a weapon. Because, yeah, you know, the Hierophant came, the government, you know, you were right for the setting up of these things. An undercover FBI agent that just appears in your life just when you getting ready to ascend to the mountaintop. There's a word for that. And in a minute, I'm going to think about it. But it pretty much means entrapment. That's what it means to me. Because this just started, you and Miss Letman Hicks, y'all got to go. Why do you think DeSantis has cut up the state of Florida's gerrymandered so tough? The niggers ain't got but a corner. Cause see, Andrew, you had I have the four. You had you had. I got the 4 cups. You see, you were offered something that, if you just paid a little bit of attention, just a little bit of attention to what you already, you got bored with what you had. Got bored. And I guess that's what happens. We start to climb and escalate. And, well, I don't know. We hear stories of people who feel like they have everything. So, what do you give a man or a woman that has everything? That they begin to become, they're so used to having what they want, Agent Orange, that they become bored. So they drink the poison out the cup that's being offered. Now you had at that moment, you could have decided if you were going to take that cup or not. I guess you decided to sip from it. That's why we got this tower moment going on now. That's why where we at today. Don't you know that you cannot do what they do? Because we're not supposed to be able to do that. You see, our politician, may he rest in peace, power, and love, told me many, many years ago when I was in college. He said, Black people have a lot of problems, but one of our biggest problems is allowing white people to make us feel guilty for the shit they do every day. If it's a black man, it's black murder. You don't usually get a description if it's a white killer, but you can pretty much figure out that it's a white shooter because no guns are drawn these days. They manage to talk that person down, take them to get a little snack over to the McDonald's. He's the hermit, but he knows things, and as he's betrayed, he also has the means to betray. He's got the upper hand some way. He's forced to wait in patience because someone is coming to him. Someone that I feel like he may not have considered this person. He may not have talked to him. It might have been somebody that he was close to at one time and that he got too busy for. But the one thing I know is you never know. You never know where your help is coming from. You never know who might be praying for you. Your grandmother played a big part in your life. She's watching over you. And she's doing some things in the spirit. You can't see that now because your feelings is hurt. But you were ripe. They knew you were ripe for the setup. They did it once. Why not fucking do it twice? You're not going to give them a third time. You're not going to give them the pleasure of doing it a third time. So what you must understand, son, is that if you're going to be, you could just don't lie. Don't lie no more. Don't pour your own dirt. Don't lie no more. Say fuck it. What the fuck else do I have to lose? I'm losing my family, lost my family. I betrayed this woman. My children are going to be affected by this. Yeah, baby. Paris is burning, boo. Paris is burning. And that's why if anybody that knows him is listening, tell him to pour his own dirt. Take the steam. First thing you got to do is take the wind out of the sails. Oh yeah, he's not. This person is telling him, the one that's working with him, and his attorneys too. Shut the fuck up. Don't say another word. Let us do the talking right now. And I believe that in my heart of hearts, I think the Satan has overplayed his hand. I think he's overplayed his hand. He's got enough people around him that'll do his bidding because he's trying to rule with fear. You know, some people think like that one over in Russia and the one we had for 4 years and thought when his ass was gone, he'd be gone. But he you know, no. White men wanting to hold on to power. But see, they got something coming for them because they heard Shay and they heard her mother and they heard her grandmother. And when they get their comeuppance, when they get hit between the eyes, a lot of that is gonna be her. That's gonna be her family's retribution. Because it's coming for them. It's coming for them. And it's not being in the stories I'm being told by angry Democrats. Now they're being called rhinos. So Andrew, son, your chance to be great isn't totally gone. It's not gone at all. It's a good thing that you're laying low. Because he has some secrets. I'm sure he knows some things. But like so many people, you think you're surrounded by friends, or you get too full of yourself, you know. Somebody was putting some shit on your ass, Tommy. You need to be brought down a notch. We don't know who Death Santa's. He probably going out to the Haitian woman and paying her to do the work. You never know. Because they do things silently in the dark. They do their dirt in the dark. Except this last time when Agent Orange was rubbing our faces in it. So tomorrow we're gonna find about. We're gonna find about. You know, Andrew's news was just a blurb. I went through several of news feeds. His stuff was just a mention because there are more important issues to deal with because they see it sliding away. Sliding away. So it's all hands on deck. See those babies that were that transition that in that heinous manner. Lord, Lord, Lord. They got blood on their hands, y'all. See? Every parent I know expects to outlive their child. I can't even, all I can do is pray because I cried for 3 weeks. I couldn't get myself together. So I say we ain't seen nothing yet. I know. See, I was hoping the last when that alleged sex scandal came out, I was hoping he would come clean then. I really was. I was hoping he would man up, she would woman up, because I don't know if she's going to leave him. I don't even want to know that. I think there's just some things that should be private. That's their family business. You right, Jaconda? See, they gonna get enough of playing. See, they playing. You know, Burbert is trying to be an evangelist now, talking about Jesus should have had an AK. I don't know what number it was. All those things confuse me because I just see them as weapons to kill, and I'm in no way interested in such a thing. She along and all these people, all of these Christians clapping and cheering. See, this is what tells me that you ain't serving the Christ. You're not even honoring the light that is within you. You are serving the one that we're told has dominion on this land. You see, y'all didn't get the Christ. That was God's divinity manifest in his humanity. He knew what his assignment was. He knew it from its inception right up to the day. And if he'd had an army with AKs, he would not have used them. You stupid bitch. You gonna get enough of playing. They don't get enough of playing. Pastors teaching hate and saying it's all right to murder LGBTQ people. Oh, and let's go back to Miss Letman Hicks, because she was an advocate for the community. Letman Hicks, a consultant who runs the National Black Justice Coalition that advocates for Black LGBTQ people, suggested in 2019 that the federal investigation was racially motivated. I happen to be a pawn being used by the oppressor to raise even more speculation about how an educated, working class Black man could run a phenomenal statewide campaign, become a national phenom, and didn't resort to the backhanded tactics to advance his agenda, she wrote in a Facebook post in reaction to the subpoena. Early this month, Letman Hicks filed a run for a state house seat after the incumbent Ramon Alexander resigned amid a sexting scandal. She told the Tallahassee Democrat she was running to be a check on DeSantis, who is up for re-election. The governor is operating with unchecked power. I think it's unhealthy to sit on the sidelines and see democracy in peril and not do everything in your power as a citizen to be a counter voice. So you see, she had a plan. She had a plan. She said it out loud. Y'all have to be distracted. But you know, shit like that just has a way of boomeranging. You see, you can go too far to the left and too far to the right, and soon it's going to create an arc and you're going to have to meet. I got that from Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders. I love that series. I love Thomas Shelby. I love the Peaky Blinders. I've been watching it from the very beginning on Netflix. It's a great series for me. I mean, I'm entertained. The women are badass. I mean, I just love it. I think it's great. But anyway, there's just the ways that things that, you know, words, our words are spells, our thoughts are spells. That's why we are careful what we speak into the universe. That's why we're careful not to speak about what we don't want. Because the flip side of the coin is we need to talk about what we do want. That's why we must be careful what we put in the wind, in the rain, in the air. We must be very careful. And I say to myself, I say, you know what it feels like in this microwave world where you can have a 25-course meal using an air fryer and a microwave in a half an hour. We're so used to having things instantly that we have lost patience. You know, sometimes sometimes you have to, all the time we should plan out our moves. We should plan, we should be careful. And if you're going to battle with somebody, see, because it is that last paragraph, those last couple of paragraphs said to me, she said he didn't use the dirty tricks he could have. I'm going to put your comment up, Jaconda, because I do agree with you. I mean, we knew all of these things. And we were, see what, I really want the people who honor the King James Version of the Bible. I want you to understand that, first of all, he just put his name on it. He didn't write shit. He didn't write a thing. He ruled over one of the bloodiest empires of the British Empire. He was a cruel man. As the king, he was head of the church. He was only performing duties. And he was a bisexual man because the men in his bedchamber were not just they were there to service him in any way he wanted to be serviced. He made babies with his wife because that was his kingly duty. But he loved men, and his last lover, a man named George, Soares, Soares, they spoke about his beauty and how the king loved him. And he's now laying next to his lover, not next to his queen. That Bible was written and used to justify what was done to us here in this country. The church sanctioned it. The Catholic Church said we had no souls, so treat them like dogs. It's okay. God won't get mad at you. He ain't gonna send you to hell. They don't have any souls, you know. Animals will go to heaven. They won't. Yeah, they know who we are. What does Erykah Badu say? If we were made in his image, then call us by our names. Most intellects do not believe in God. They fear us just the same. We ought to be feared. And especially during this time. And I'm not talking about how big a gun we can carry. I'm not talking about how much violence we wreak upon each other. What we do to one another, and yet still call ourselves a community. What we are learning is that what this is a spiritual thing, and we have better get on top of it, and we have better use all the spiritual power that we have, because we have power. The grandmother, Shay's grandmother, has power. Her mother, she has power. She got a little knocked off her beat. She's got afraid, but you came out and you told your story. You don't have to be afraid anymore. People need to be afraid of you. And this is not about physical, I don't know, maybe that might be necessary, but that's not what I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of fighting with the weapon that we know the most about, and that is in the spirit. And all the elements. The wind, the rain, the sun, the moon, all the elements. Because there is nothing demonic about any of those things. But that's what they tell us in the white man's Bible. That is the same Bible that oppresses women. Said you ain't supposed to say nothing. You submit to your husband. It don't matter how he's treating you. Don't matter if he's beating the shit out of you. Doesn't matter if he's cheating on you. Doesn't matter if he leave you with a house full of kids and goes off and spreads his wild oats and you'll be there when he gets back, when he's all broken down and used up. He wants to come home because now he needs somebody to nurse him while he still continues to see. I've been hearing a lot of stories about the abuse that Black women, and I'm not saying just Black women, but I'm speaking about a Black woman because that's what I am through and through. We are not a disposable people. Andrew Gillum, you keep talking to your grandmother. You sit your ass down and you let her give you instruction. It's time for you to get your strength up. Because your story is not over. And it won't matter in a year or two. Nobody will give a shit about your transgressions. Because the things we'll be learning about going forward are gonna, they'll have their hands full. They won't even be thinking about you. And Jaconda, more than them knowing who we are, we have to know who we are. We have to know who we are. And we don't have a whole lot of time to sit around trying to figure it out. It's time for us to put on the full armor. And it truly is Wakanda forever. It truly is. This is not no infighting now. This is the coming together of all the tribes to send up that mighty cry unto the heavens. It's time. So that said, I'm just thinking to myself about, I want us in this group, those of you that have remained, and anybody listening from the bushes, thank you for stopping by. I hope you're listening. I want us to continue to cover and pray for Shay Moss, Lady Ruby, and her grandmother. I didn't get her grandmother's name. I want us to continue to lift them up. And you know what? I'm going to put your comment up. Girl, I got my new eyes. So are they in for a big surprise? Yep, they're soulless. You see, what do they say? Absolute power, absolute power corrupts, or something. What is that saying, Jaconda? Absolute power absolutely corrupts, or something like that. It's rather nice to see them eating their own, fighting amongst themselves. That they don't have time to fuck with us right now. This is the time that we gather all the saints. Electra Storm, thank you, baby, for staying so long. I didn't even realize you were still here. You have a good night. I so appreciate you coming on and spending some time with me. Y'all don't know how much I needed your company tonight. Thank you, Sharon, for you hanging in. Sharon is our warrior prince. And I look forward to the day when my channel grows and when I have 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000 and 20,000. I've supported a lot of channels out here, and I've seen their growth, and I'm so delighted for them. And I know that that day is coming for my channel too. So if Sharon lets us know that she's back, then I'll say goodnight. Edwina, I don't know if you're still on, but I thank you for trusting me with praying for you and your family. I told y'all I pray for all of y'all. I don't think I'm going through this by myself. Oh, she had no. I don't. Yeah, Electra. I did. Did I apologize? Yeah, absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. I didn't. You're right. I didn't recognize her because she looked so sharp in her video testimony. I guess I was looking for that woman. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it. I love you all. And I was having a conversation with a neighbor here. I don't toss the word love around because it's not garbage to me. It's being treated like garbage. And once I learned about all the wonderful things, you know what I might do, Jaconda? Since I have your email address, I may invite you to just come on up. Thank you, Electra. You're very gracious. Thank you so much. I can be honorary, but you know, I stand corrected, baby. I can send you the invitation and you can come up and you can sit alongside me. And you can use your avatar. You don't have to show your face. I'd love to hear your voice. That goes for anybody. My stuff, my email address and stuff is up there. Like, share, subscribe, donate. For the ones that have donated previously, I have so appreciated it. You don't know how much, how on time those donations were. I bless every dollar. So yeah, think about it, Jaconda. Think about it and communicate with me through email. I want to give a shout out to my baby Davion over at Conscious TV. He did two great videos. One about um, a teenager who regretted transitioning. You don't have to get a fancy camera. I don't have a fancy camera. I'm just using my laptop. I look forward to the day when I actually have a room with the fancy cameras and the mics, and it looks like it's a real deal. This is truly a bare bones operation. So, thanks again, Jaconda, Electra, Edwina, Sharon, of course, my darling. Thank you so much for coming on. Doreen, thank you for being here. Thank you, Carter Mancy Mesquite. I know you came on for a moment, but you probably had to hop. I don't know if you hopped on or off, but I just thank you all so much. And as Jaconda says, night, night, Electra, and all the lovelies. Night, night, Jaconda. Peace be unto you all. Do your best tonight to get into those, stay in those heavenly places. Trust what's the heavenly places. Trust what's being downloaded. It will not mislead you. And if you get a chance, go check out Dr. Lisa at Heart of Inspiration. She is a wonderful man. I can't even begin to describe Dr. Lisa. Her YouTube channel is called Heart of Inspiration. She is a wonderful reader, oracle, counselor. She's an ordained minister, but she ain't talking the way the other ones is talking. She's a beautiful spirit, and I'm so happy to have met her. Go check her out. You will be glad you did. And subscribe to her channel. Let her know that you come over here with me. Yeah, go check her out. You will be blessed for real. I mean, she's the whole thing. The whole thing. An astrologer, did I mention that? She pulls out charts, she reads stuff, she explains things. She doesn't, I don't get lost when I listen to her. She's wonderful, and I'm hoping that I've invited her to come over to visit with us, and I'm hoping that she will. My cousin Pat Wilson Phineas from the Witness Stones is going to be coming back. We want to discuss Juneteenth, the true meaning of it, as well as the bastardization of it. What did we expect? What did we expect? Everybody's got something for sale. Why should any of our stuff? Her name, whose name? The YouTube channel is Heart of Inspiration. Her name is Dr. Lisa. Let me get her full name. Hold on. She's doing the Week of Kindness right now. And it's a Week of Kindness and Gratitude Summit. And she's speaking on Don't Hate the Player, Change the Game. I just have her first name, but all of her information would be underneath her YouTube channel. She's wonderful. I just love her. So I'm really going to get off and have me a nice cup of tea. I love you all, and I'll be back on. I just have to get through these hearings. Continue to shine a light on Andrew, child. He's gonna need all the help from the Orishas. He's gonna need everybody pulling for him. Because the truth is, he's done nothing that hasn't already been done. He's just a black man who did it. And somehow or another, it always seems to be worse if we indulge. All right. Good night, all. Mwah. Peace.